Welcome to ISL Enabled Virtual Lab of CSIR.
And now it's time to ask a scientist.
How did you decide to choose Drosophila as a model for sleep?
Drosophila, what is good about them is you can really manipulate each and every aspect of their biology. You can manipulate each and every neuron, you can manipulate each and every gene. So that gives you a lot of flexibility to study whatever process you're interested in studying. And a lot of these mechanisms that had been first looked into flies are also conserved in higher organisms, including humans. Now, of course, we cannot put electrodes in Drosophila head and try to record. And the other aspect is that if you are unable to sleep, if I keep you awake the whole night, then the next day you will tend to sleep even during the day. That's the rebound effect that is coming into the picture. Similar fashion, if we keep flies awake through mechanical means, do not let them stop moving, then the next day they show again this rebound leap-like state.
Like, how did you get interested in sleep as a question and as an area of research? Was this something that you always were inclined towards, or did it happen eventually as you studied in ICER and went ahead from there?
I actually come from a family which has not produced any PhDs before. So this line of questioning or this line of career was never on the cards. It was you get through your 12th and start preparing for some engineering or medicine exam and move in that direction. But fortunately, I ended up at ICER for one reason or the other. And what fascinated me right from the beginning was studying behavior, how behavior changes through experience. For that, I started working with flies because it's a very simple system to get started with. That kind of got me interested. I started studying aggression first. I think it just built from there, one behavior after the other. It just made me more curious about how the behavior is executed.
How does your lab look like is something that you want to know. Like, do you have bottles full of fruit flies, or like, how does it work?
Yeah, so we do have bottles full of fruit flies. We grow them in thousands. But in addition to growing fruit flies, we also have dedicated spaces to do behavior. So we have designed specific boxes. These are big boxes in which you can walk into and do your experiments. So those are really controlled environment in which these experiments are done. But in addition, we also do imaging studies where we record from brain, even in tiny fruit flies. We have sophisticated microscopes available that can help us record neural activity changes. So once they form memory or are they sleeping, we record from those neurons and see which area of the brain might be involved and to pinpoint which neurons might be playing a role in the particular process.
I wanted to ask that how do you study fruit flies when they are so small?
So they do require very gentle handling to move them from one type of food to the other type of food to do learning memory experiments with them. But I would say they're also quite robust. They don't like die easily. So if you are gentle with your handling, if you're moving things properly, most of the experiments we do, we anesthetize our flies. So essentially introduce some sort of chemical so that they are not moving. So then we can move them from one place to the other and do experiments with. But a lot of behavior experiments are done with moving flies, of course. So it requires a little bit of training, but it's way easier than you would think.
What are some of these tips or anything that they should remember, keep in mind to build a career beyond engineering and medicine, probably?
So I can understand the peer pressure. I myself have experienced it. When everybody wants to do one or two things, then that becomes a norm in the society. And in general, people would go in that direction. So I would say to keep an open mind. One thing would be to read a little bit about science. Every newspaper carries science columns. There are science documentaries. So if you just go ahead and read and watch, that itself will tell you how this is being done and what progress are we making. Each and every word written in it is there because of work done by some scientist somewhere, right? So that immense contribution would not be there if everybody would have just done engineering and medicine. There's nothing wrong in doing that, of course, but if you are more curious to answer, to ask questions, you're more into answering, for instance, why we dream and why we sleep. And these are just some of the questions, but there are so many. All these things can only happen if you let yourself experience the other side as well. So just keep your mind broad, read about it, and that will give you an alternative at least to what everybody else is saying you should or shouldn't do.